The Han Dynasty was the second imperial dynasty of China, preceded by the Qing Dynasty. The Han Dynasty was founded by Liao Bing, who was a peasant farmer. Being rejected for his rigorous way, Liao left his family to work for the government as a patrol officer. After losing a number of prisoners during transport, Liao, fearing punishment from the authorities, offered the remaining prisoners their freedom if they would agree to fight for him. Leading his horde of brigands, he eventually was awarded the province of Han. Liao would focus his efforts on developing agriculture methods and training an army, through which he reinforced his resource accumulation and military power. Before long, Liao broke out of his principality, disposed the 3 kings of Qins, and occupied Gaozhong, where he launched a war known as the Chu Hong War against the Emperor Zhao Yu. Liu lost many of his battles during the war, but the ruthlessness shown by the Qin in victory and the compassion and kindness shown by Liao won him many followers. Zhao Yu eventually was defeated at the Battle of Zhangzhou, where Emperor Yu committed suicide. Liao proclaimed himself emperor, and since then has been referred to as Emperor Gaozhou of Han. When one speaks of family and religion in the Han Dynasty, one is speaking of Confucianism, which replaced legalist thought. Confucian ideology advocates the collective of the family, which is the prototype of all social organizations. The unit of the society is not the individual but the family. Filial piety should be shown to the family, both living and dead, and they owe a strong duties of respect and reverence to their seniors, and in return, the seniors owe benevolence towards the juniors. Confucianism focuses on the 5 relationships: the ruler, who is viewed as the father of the state, the father, whom one must recognize as the source of his or her life, the husband, which is the head of the household, and elder siblings, and then finally friend to friend. The cardinal virtue within Confucianism is referred to as Zhen, or humanity. In order to be self-cultivated, one must establish significance within the relationship of their family. Then the will of the individual should be that of the family as a whole.
The main foods of China up until the Han Dynasty were rice, millet, sorghum, and wheat. There is archaeological evidence of rice farming along the Yangtze River as early as about 5000 BCE, making rice the first grain that was farmed in China. Rice didn't grow in northern China, which is much drier and colder. People in northern China instead gathered wild millet and sorghum, and by 4500 BCE, people in northern China started farming millet rather than gathering it wild. They eat it boiled into a kind of porridge. Prior to the Han Dynasty, broadcasting, the act of planting seeds by hand, was the only method used in farming. The biggest effect the Han Dynasty brought to agriculture was the invention of the 3-legged iron seed drill and the moldboard iron plow. Both these innovative tools led to greater control of the land and the planting of seeds. 2 other methods, known as the alternating field system and the pit field system, were later used to make better use of the land for the purpose of greater food development. Poor families in the south ate nothing but rice, and in the north, millet and sorghum. Those families with greater wealth could afford additional substances, including soybeans, which are native to China, as well as cucumbers. For fruits, the Han had oranges and lemons, peaches and apricots. The native flavorings are ginger and anise.
Confucianism became established as the official belief system of China during the Han Dynasty. A recent series of conquering lands and expanding China's borders made Emperor Wu need to unite his new people, so he established Confucianism as the elite philosophy, and he made a testing system of Confucianism to assign government posts. True to Confucianism, women were not allowed to take the test and could not assume any government roles, and the Confucianism belief included women had to be subservient to husbands and even their sons. Women could not possess almost anything. Widows were disregarded and had little to no possessions and were rarely remarried. And they also did not receive aid from others to help feed their children or themselves. Men did not have these problems upon becoming widowed because they could easily marry again and kept all the possessions that they receive after getting widowed. Therefore, women were disposable.
Diplomatic practices in China created an environment where military and economy balanced on each other, and stronger societies dominated over the weaker. The Silk Road is the most well-known trading route of the ancient civilization. Trade in silk grew under the Han Dynasty in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. It increased the number of foreign merchants present in China. Han China's primary exports were of silk and gold. They imported spices, woolen fabrics, and horses through the Silk Road and the western lands. Han armies sometimes recruited Central Asian merchants to join their forces as they advanced westward. In importing goods such as horses, they were able to expand their military technology. In this way, warfare and trade intertwined with each other, even to the point where it was hard to distinguish where diplomatic campaigns ended and commercial missions began.
Throughout the Han Dynasty, there are many events that give evidence of how the top families, the elites, throughout the Han Dynasty used politics to influence their ability to expand their nation. One of the more obvious ways the Hans used politics to improve their nation was making military service a minimum of 1 year for all men within their nation. Though 1 year may not seem significant, when you distribute it throughout millions of men, it gives you a great amount of manpower. Around 200 BC, the Hans were invaded by a local tribe by the name of the Xiangnus. Immediately, the Hans organized a political marriage treaty in which elites from both families got married, which resulted in each side getting one another's land. This is a great example of how the Hans used politics rather than man-force to obtain territory. Before 117 BCE, the Han government controlled most of the nation's industries. Industries such as salt and iron were all owned by the government. This limited the people of the Han because nobody could open their own business, high unemployment rate, weak economy, and no money for military. However, after 117 BCE, the government nationalized many of these industries. Weapon, tool, and clothing industries all went into public ownership.
Home and family were important elements in the social structure of Han Dynasty, and family members valued their time together. A large number of Chinese households, whether they were of nobles or of commoners, lived among several generations and followed the Confucian model of family norms and patrilineal control. Most Chinese households held a strong belief in patrilineal leadership and a high level of obedience from the women and children of the family. These strong family relationships, together with the inventions and advancements of agriculture and successful trade, resulted in what some historians call the most productive of all Chinese dynasties. The males of the Han Dynasty were treated with a high level of respect and seen as superior. People believed that parents who had sons could become gods in the afterlife. The boys were allowed to attend school, join the military, and take a position in the political world if they chose to. The opposing treatment of males and females started in childhood as they helped in family productivity. Children learn to work for and alongside their families at an early age, meaning as soon as they could put what they've learned into motion. Farm children learn to tend to animals and plants and raise crops regularly as soon as they could successfully complete a workday alongside their older family members. Since some farm work was too physically demanding for smaller girls, the more sons a family had, the more successful the farm was. As many wise emperors took effective measures during their reign, the Han Dynasty was a period of peace and prosperity. It was one of many male-dominated world powers at that time with interests in literature, art, culture, and technology, with the Han Dynasty achieving numerous unparalleled and praiseworthy successes. Some of the achievements at that time still influence the lives of Chinese people today.